Hello, ni hao. Friends, welcome to all of you. This will be the first vlog video I upload to my YouTube channel. I am Kerem Inchi. I am 18 years old. I am an undergraduate student at Tsinghua University. I am in my first year. There's no preparation, This year, the name of my undergraduate program is called the Global Talents in Science and Engineering program. So it's not exactly a program tied to a specific department. Instead, it's created under a college, namely Zhejiang College, and it's the first time this year's English engineering program will be offered, I can say. Before giving details about this program, since this is my first YouTube vlog video, let me show you how this journey started, how I came to Tsinghua University. In other words, how I got into this university. Let me show you the university right away. I want to tell you how I got accepted here. You know how in movies they show the final scene first and then tell the background story? I'll do the same. So this is my result. And I want to tell you how I got accepted here. Let me get back to myself. Now, my process actually took a bit long. I can say I started this in high school since I came here directly as an undergraduate student. But I can't say I started in the very first year of high school. Because in the first year of high school, I didn't even have a dream of studying abroad. In 9th grade, how can I say I was like those clueless students, who don't know what they want to do, who have no idea about anything. I was a completely ignorant student about these topics, about education. I couldn't even properly focus on those course lessons in high school. But then, I don't know, a muse came to me. Honestly, I don't call myself talented or smart. I think anyone can achieve this. Maybe not everyone can get into Tsinghua University, but I believe everyone has the potential to reveal the possibility of getting into Tsinghua University, or even better, MIT, Harvard. That's what happened with me as well. After the 10th grade passed in this way, especially in the second semester of the 10th grade, I experienced an enlightenment. Do not think of this enlightenment as an academic one. I can say it was an enlightenment about self-discovery and learning one's own interest. And my first step in this area was learning games. Learning games, learning game development. With some information I acquired through Unity, I initially gained some basic knowledge related to my main field, programming. Along with this course, of course, I learned not only coding, but also game development. Developing games has been one of the biggest factors in changing my mindset, especially when talking about my high school life in terms of my career. I emphasize it this way for this reason. The reason is this: learning to develop games is an action that kind of opens up algorithmic thinking. Don't just think of this as programming or consider game design merely as a visual process in your mind. These also required algorithmic analytical processes, which I gained in that way. With an enlightenment I gained from here, I also took some steps in game development and even developed my own game. I worked on a first-person shooter single-player game for 8 months. Yes, that's when I realized that when I focus on something, I can do it, whether it takes a year or 8 months. Even if I struggled and made mistakes, I realized I could learn by drawing lessons from my mistakes, and this learning process helped me focus on my classes and adapt myself to them. And that's why I say my academic self-discovery actually began after the game development process, because I not only advanced myself academically, but also moved on to other steps after game development. For example, web development, I learned both front-end and back-end. I improved myself in these areas. Alongside these fields, of course, I also dealt with robotics in the following processes. And finally, I focused on acquiring knowledge about artificial intelligence, which is my main area of interest. In short, my extracurricular activity history was directed in this way. Now I want to focus a little on the academic course side, because when we come to this university, you don't just show your past, your background in your area of interest. At the same time, what kind of a do you have an academic background? Are you as daring academically to survive in this school? They also look at things like this in such universities. However, as I said, this video is more about what was my journey to get into this university rather than how to get into this university. I want to tell you about this. For that, I will continue the story in the academic part like this. As I said, in 9th and 10th grade, my academic background was almost very bad. I mean almost, because I was almost taking exams without studying. This, of course, was also causing my school grades to drop significantly. And after game development, which I call my saving field, came into my life, I gained some academic awareness, and in this field I realized that I needed to take some steps for myself, both in mathematics, physics and chemistry, as you know, the Turkish education system. Because after finishing high school, there is a university. The place we call university is an academic environment, and I thought it wasn't a place where I could enter and survive with only non-academic work. I still don't have a place in my mind for goals like studying abroad, etc. Of course, while working on these, I started discovering new things. I mean, when I transitioned from game development to web development, I also started discovering some new things related to abroad. Another reason for studying abroad is actually due to the education system in Turkey, I can say. As I saw the gaps, problems and academic deficiencies in the Turkish education system, I started to have some doubts about studying in Turkey. At the forefront of these doubts was the question of whether universities in Turkey were sufficient for me, because I was already learning things on my own. If I can learn by studying on my own, will I really get an education in Turkey that is worth dedicating 4 years to academia? These questions started forming in my mind at that time, and with these questions I realized that I already have a background in my own field. Whether it's by developing games, learning web development, getting into robotics, or dealing with artificial intelligence. By engaging with these, I am preparing my own background, and I have started to develop an academic awareness. I am studying physics, I am studying chemistry, I am raising my high school grades, then why don't I study abroad and get into universities where I can prove myself more worthy? It kind of got etched into my mind directly. Along with that question, now I started taking some concrete steps. Among these concrete steps, I was initially considering America. So, since I was thinking of studying in America, I started coding my own criteria according to the criteria that American universities want. That's why, as you know, I took the SAT exam, which is one of the exams required in America. If we don't consider the exams in Turkey, the score I got from this exam, actually, I didn't take this exam just once. That is the failure of my English, because I'm opening a parenthesis here as a separate topic. I didn't take any preparatory classes in high school. Since I didn't take any preparatory classes in high school, I had to improve my English on my own throughout high school as an additional task, so to speak. This is actually somewhat a good thing, because when you start learning a language on your own, you need to create a schedule to allocate your own time. This somewhat increases your own responsibility. This is important because such responsibilities are always needed in academia. You need to set your own course schedule. You need to plan what you will do in your free time yourself. I can say that I did the very basics of such tasks by arranging this English study period myself. While studying English, as I mentioned, I was also preparing for the SAT exam, and unfortunately at first my SAT scores were not good enough, of course. To be honest, I took it 5 times, and that wasn't due to my academic failure, but as I said, because of English. As I improved my English, I can say I raised my super score to 1,470, well, in this area. And unfortunately, because my school was a public school, and as I mentioned earlier, I didn't gain awareness of studying abroad early, I was delayed in taking some steps. One of these steps was unfortunately exams or diplomas like AP or IB, which are somewhat internationally recognized. University-based exams, I regret not having taken these, let me say that. But when I look at the outcome resulting from this regret, there isn't really a big loss. I'm regretful, but since not taking them didn't cause a significant loss, it hasn't had a major negative impact on my life right now. That's why my criteria were again based in America. I took the IELTS or Duolingo tests for the university's English proficiency, but as I said, I also trusted my own CV. I improved my school grades in 11th and 12th grades based on some of my mistakes in 10th and 9th grades, unfortunately. When we look at it as a whole, I thought it could be evaluated in a sufficient framework if we consider the student profile. I thought so, because I was looking at it positively. I had positive thoughts about being able to get into some top schools abroad, especially in America, and I still do. But I also learned some realities after that, because I had underestimated the competition there a little. That was a bit of my mistake. Just because I underestimated the competition doesn't mean I will give up directly. But I also realize over time that concrete steps need to be taken for some things. That factor is at play here too. I'm moving towards the 11th grade. Let's say these are the preparatory explanations for that right now. After taking some necessary exams for studying abroad, it was time to apply to universities. But I didn't apply to universities in the 12th grade. I took a gap year, yes. I started high school early. After finishing high school at 17, I said, I can't apply to universities in 12th grade. There are actually 2 reasons for this. The first reason is that I still don't see myself as sufficient in terms of my CV. Yes, I have achievements. The work I do is very intense. I have developed myself in many areas, but I couldn't fully achieve what I call development. And most importantly, at that time, I had turned it into an obsession. On my CV, I didn't have 5 awards to show. You know, in the American university application process, if you're applying through the Common App, and it should be on the Coalition App too, you can put 5 award slots there. And because I couldn't fill 5 award slots and couldn't list 10 different extracurricular activities on my CV, I had some doubts in my mind. I said, I'm underestimating the competition, but I think underestimating it this much is not a sensible decision. That's why I took a gap year. In what we call a gap year, you don't attend high school for a year. You take time for yourself, and after this year, you continue to undergraduate studies. By the way, did I just say high school? You don't start university for a year. After finishing high school, you start then. Sometimes my Turkish can get mixed up. I apologize for that. I can say that I spent that year focusing more on extracurricular activities rather than academics, although there was some academic involvement. For example, I did a research project. This research project was on physics-informed neural networks. Besides that, I developed many projects and participated in competitions with them. You can understand why. Competition means when you win, it means a prize. What does a prize mean? It means one more slot I can put on the Coalition app or Common app. That's how I thought and acted. I'm not regretful about taking a gap year, because if I were, I wouldn't be here. But of course, when I think about that period, I believe I could have made some better decisions, because I mean, some of the decisions I made weren't very logical. For example, at that time, I was still continuing to take the SAT, and while studying for the SAT, I made some mistakes during the SAT study period. One of these mistakes was focusing unnecessarily on certain things. The where I was improving my English with the SAT, alright, but I didn't really need to study SAT math. I unnecessarily studied math in some areas. Instead of doing this, I think I could have focused more on my extracurricular activities, but the past is in the past. Right now, I'm not focusing on that. I want to return to the main part of this, which is the university application process. 12th grade ended. I took a gap year. The university application process started again. I received a few awards. There are now some things in the slot where I can put the awards. I did this, I accomplished this. I applied to universities in America during the university application process. And let me also say, as I mentioned, I do my research because I don't trust my own knowledge very much in this process. But OJ, I also ask a lot of questions. And because I thought I couldn't always find answers to these questions through my research, I proceeded with a consultant. Of course, this advisor also made significant contributions to me during the application process to America. And this process throughout, whether it was writing the essays those universities required, or getting help on how to plan this process, they helped me a lot, thankfully. By the way, his name is Chris. He is American, but he knew Turkish, and I deliberately tried to proceed with him by speaking English. What's the logic here? To improve my English in the essay, to improve my speaking. Unfortunately, at that time, my English proficiency score wasn't good enough for some universities. That's why English was like a requirement in some matters. Let me cross over so there's no problem. That's how we proceeded. Why am I talking about America? Because in this process, I started in America. I started by applying to universities in America, and the information I gained there led me to apply to Chinese universities as well, but I need to fill in the gap there. After filling that gap, I'll tell you my full story. After finishing the universities in America, this process starts around September. Preparing applications, writing the main essay. The main essay is a 650-word essay where you tell your own story. You don't tell your entire story. You choose a specific area and how you are in this area. How can I explain this? I can say it's a piece of writing about adopting a life philosophy. A more natural language is desired, not an academic one. An essay written on this, we prepared this. Universities want many essays. Some want up to 7 specific essays. We prepared these. We perfected it. I'm still trying to add awards to the CV. During that gap year, I entered nearly 8 competitions and was eliminated from almost 6 without winning any awards. We took care of this, did those, did this. On the one hand, there's the task of super scoring the essay score. My English isn't enough. With lots and lots of IELTS essays, Duolingo. The stress load is quite heavy, of course. There will also be a point where I'll open a separate parenthesis in this process. So normally, I didn't just develop myself academically or in my field like CS, which is computer science, or in the field of artificial intelligence. At the same time, I was also involved in sports activities. By sports activities, I mean I have been a swimmer for 5 years. I am a professional swimmer, but specifically, I am involved in underwater hockey. In underwater hockey, we also had awards, but once I fixate on awards, those sports awards aren't enough. There need to be other awards too. I have that kind of obsession. Because of this, as I said, I studied prep for a year. I took a gap year. During this process, I also had to stop my sports activities. The main reason for this is that doing sports is one of the most important things. But when you stop, because it takes up your time, there's a problem. You gain weight. No lie, if you stop exercising after doing it for a long time for a task, and the only thing you do is sit and prepare your essays, perfecting your applications for each university, you gain quite a bit of weight. During that period, unfortunately, I gained close to 15 kilograms, from 75 kilograms to 100 kilograms. Sorry, it wasn't even 15. I gained close to 25 kilograms. I gained quite a bit more, but over a long period. Long period, I'm not just considering it as 6 months. When I think about the preparation process that lasted nearly a year, I stopped exercising for 6 months during that time. In total, I gained 25 kilograms, but in that specific 6 months, I gained about 15 kilograms. So when I started the process, I was 85 kilos. I can say I went up to 100 kilos. This was my mistake. I realized later that I shouldn't have stopped exercising. I understood it after the application period ended, but was it worth it? I'm still 90 kilos. I don't think it was worth it. I wish I hadn't quit. This is one of my regrets, for example. I say I wish I hadn't quit. Because when you stop, for example, in underwater hockey, even if you want to join for fun, you realize your conditioning is gone. When the conditioning is gone, it's very hard to recover it. Unfortunately, I learned that later as well. So no matter what, no matter how academically busy you are, this is another piece of advice. Don't quit sports. In fact, one of Tsinghua's mottos is no sports, no Tsinghua. So if there's no sports, there's no Tsinghua. Since I follow this motto, I'm still working on losing weight. Now that we've closed this parenthesis, let's return to the academic process. To this, the academic application process, after both finishing the universities in America, when these things were done, it was January of 2025. By January 2025, there were no universities left in America that I needed to apply to, because their deadlines had passed. I had already applied to enough, no lie. I had applied to nearly 30 universities. Because of this, I was already quite tired, under a lot of stress, and had gained a bit of weight due to stress. So to reduce this process, I didn't apply to any universities for 2 months in February. But later, I faced some realities. One of them was the reality of competition. I said I didn't underestimate the competition, but I hadn't exactly blown it out of proportion either. Yes, you need to magnify it in your mind, because when you face certain realities, magnifying it means having a plan B or plan C for yourself. If you ask how I saw this, it was by getting rejections from some universities, especially the ones I was expecting acceptance from. When I got rejected, I said, oh no, there is a big competition. The competition is much bigger than I expected. I need to have a plan B and C. To not end up studying in Turkey by pursuing such a goal. For this purpose, I first applied to 5 universities in England. Then I turned to China. But I want to explain how I turned to China because of this. I mean, you say England, you say America, and suddenly you switch to China. You suddenly jump from Europe, North America, to the Far East. Let me explain the reason for this jump like this. As I said at the beginning, I am a student who is studying, or rather wants to study, computer engineering. There aren't just a few universities where I can study in this field. There are many alternatives. Many of these alternatives are from different universities. And when I look at the rankings, especially when I looked at the rankings in my own field, I noticed that China and Chinese universities have gained significant momentum. Or as a result of this acceleration, I am applying to America. Many international students like me are already going to America. Students much better than me are going, both academically and in terms of extracurricular background. Very strong students are going. My likelihood of not being able to compete with them is quite high. A country that might have less competition, fewer universities, fewer international students going, but is also quite strong in my field. I started searching, and what confirmed this search was the rejection from the universities in America. And here, the China factor came into play. After seeing the prestige of Chinese universities, I realized that I should apply to Chinese universities as well. But before that, as I said, since I applied to America, I thought I should also apply to the United Kingdom. After applying to England, I focused on Chinese universities. But when I say I focused on Chinese universities, I didn't apply to nearly 30 universities like in America. At the time I was in February of 2025, there weren't too many university alternatives. Yes, applications were still open, but since universities in China operate on a rolling admission basis, meaning first come, first served, the earlier you apply, the higher your chance of getting accepted early. Since I was a bit late, I decided to apply immediately. As a result of applying immediately, I didn't apply to many universities. Since I got accepted by the universities I applied to, there was no need to apply to others. So that's why I applied to a limited number of universities in China. I applied to universities like Zhejiang University, like Tsinghua University. I already had interviews with them. When the interview went well and I got accepted by Zhejiang University, I said, oh, okay, this is happening. I also have acceptances from universities in America. This doesn't mean, by the way, let me open a parenthesis again. I'm opening a new parenthesis. I didn't get rejected by all the universities in America. I had acceptances, but from those top 20 universities we dream of, like Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Yale. When I didn't get accepted to such universities and I had set my academic goals very high, when I faced reality a bit, I immediately said, I need to take action. I need to look at stronger universities, alternatives. Regarding those alternatives, China was already an important factor. And when I first got accepted by Zhejiang University, I thought, oh, okay, we're getting out of this. And finally, the biggest punch came from Tsinghua University. And with that punch, I said, okay, my job is done, man. And upon seeing that, all right, I've reached the university I aimed for. Since we can't study in America, let's think about the bad sides of America. Let's think about the good sides of China. Let's look at what advantages it has in my field. Let's study in China that way, I said. And as you can see, now that I've been accepted to Tsinghua University, here I am. When you look at the criteria and such for other things, the result pushed me here, and now I specifically want to explain how the admission criteria for Chinese universities work. But before explaining that, I want to make one last point. When this application process is completely finished, I didn't lie down or sit. I kept myself standing. Yes, I had gained a lot of weight. That's why my work period was gone. I mean, it had gone very badly. I needed to fix that first anyway. I pulled myself together. Or rather, I tried to pull myself together. I tried to lose a bit of weight. And most importantly, since I didn't take any AP courses, no matter how much I studied math, even if I studied for the YKS math, I didn't feel academically sufficient. That's why, even though I didn't take AP, I studied for the AP exams to have a pass foundation, so that I wouldn't struggle before entering. And now when I came to this university, I realized that yes, these foundations are really important, especially in terms of course selection. But I want to talk about these in the next videos. Now, what are the application criteria for Chinese universities? Actually, I want this to be discussed in the next video. In this video, I will convey some basic details. In terms of these basic details, you will have a preliminary. I sometimes really forget Turkish. You can gain a preliminary view. It might not be the right word, view, but you understood. Chinese universities generally have a system similar to universities in America, so the criteria don't differ significantly. They also ask for a school transcript from you. They want to see your background, meaning your CV. If you have taken EP, IB or A level, they want to see these, and additionally what they call international qualification, meaning internationally recognized. They want to see an exam score. Since I didn't take AP or IB, I completed this score only by taking the SAT. Even though my SAT was 1,470, strangely enough, they accepted it. Here I am a bit lucky. You know, I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the program I was accepted into. The first English engineering program opened at Tsinghua University. When something is opened for the first time, usually if the university also, if they can't advertise the program very well, you become advantageous in terms of acceptance. I had such a chance. That year, Tsinghua University opened engineering for the first time, so the acceptance rate was quite high. And thanks to that high acceptance rate, I can say I got accepted a bit. Let's not make a confession here. I'm very bad, academically terrible. Despite that, I got accepted to Tsinghua University. I'm not saying you should apply and get accepted to, because when I saw the other students who came here, there were those who had won 12 Olympic medals and those who had A-levels. There were also those who took AP. I just tried to be at their level. Maybe I'm not at their level. But maybe in terms of background, I am at their level. Academically, I may not be at their level. But overall, these universities' international students complement each other. I mean, with the good and the bad. So I didn't feel a significant lack when I came here. Let's discuss this in detail in another video, because this video is getting long. In this video, I mainly wanted to talk about my high school journey. As I said, the criteria of Chinese universities are like this. There is a similar criterion to universities in America.
By the way, there's one more point I forgot. That is the personal statement.
Universities in England also require a personal statement. This personal statement is not like the main essay. Yes, it is also approximately 4,000 characters. It can be up to 650 words depending on the situation, but generally this personal statement, as I mentioned, is a piece where you talk about your high school life, not in an academic language, but in a formal language, where you discuss your own life philosophy and your past. You can think of it like that. The difference between the main essay and the personal statement comes from this. I can actually say it's like a motivation letter that the university asks from you. But I think the motivation letter wasn't exactly in that criteria. You can think of it as something similar. It asks for your motivation in applying to this university. You write this and send it to them. And besides, there aren't specific essays required like at universities in America. But some documents, let's not say are necessary, but they do ask for documents that are a hassle. However, these are not documents that affect your application. I can say they are just documents that formalize your application, allowing you to make a complete application. But as I said, the general criteria were like this. In another video, I want to delve into the main detail of this. Actually, I have many videos to shoot. As you can see, I'm currently walking on the Tsinghua University campus. In fact, let me show you again. The campus is quite beautiful. In another video, again, it's always another video. Let's see how many videos we will shoot this way. I want to talk about this university's campus, like where things are, what is done, where courses are given. I want to introduce you to this university life here, studying in China, and anything else that might come to mind for you and me. Once again, I am Kerem Inchi. Thank you for watching the video. See you again in another video.